Morning. Today is Tuesday, April 15th, tax day, if you have not filed already. We're here at the Kent County Board of Commissioners Operations and Policy Committee meeting. Yes, I know. I was just asking Linda. I think we only need 4. So first item on our agenda, obviously we had the call to order. Second item is public comment. Is there anyone here that would like to address the committee? All right, seeing no one, we will move to the approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion and support for approval of last meeting's minutes? Motion by Ponstein, supported by Coleman. Any comments or questions? If not, all those in favor, please say yes. Yes. All those opposed, no. All right. Next item on our agenda. Amy.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to present the annual performance measurement review report on behalf of Human Resources. The HR team currently consists of 16 people who work to provide support to over 2,000 active employees, a similar number of retirees, and also anybody who's interested in or currently applying for employment with Kent County. We currently have 2 vacancies, so if we were fully staffed, we would have 18 people. The people in the HR department work in one of 5 different areas. The first is employment, so that involves sourcing, recruiting, and hiring new staff. Labor and employee relations is about negotiating and administering 9 different union contracts, and also investigating employee complaints and helping supervisors to deal with employee performance issues. Our employee benefits function oversees the administration of all of the health and welfare benefits and the leaves for all of our active employees, and also administers our HRIS system. Retirement Services oversees the administration of our pension, retiree healthcare, and 457 plans. And then we have one person in learning and development who oversees all of the county's L&D programming and also administers our LMS system. We have a small but mighty team, some of whom are here today, and I am incredibly proud of the amount of work that they're able to get done with the capacity they have and the number of people they're able to serve. We have 4 strategic goals in HR. The first is to make sure that we can improve the efficiency and effectiveness of the work that we do. So we appreciate the investment that the Board of Commissioners has made in the HR staff, and we want to make sure that you get maximum value out of that investment. The second is to make sure that we're providing like a balanced effort with pay and benefits. On the one hand, we need to make sure that we're being as competitive with market as we can. But on the other hand, we also need to make sure that we're internally equitable with pay and benefits. The third goal is to make sure that we're able to effectively partner with county departments to recruit the best possible people to serve the residents of Kent County. We're ultimately a service organization, and the quality of the people we hire is incredibly important to the success of the overall organization. And then last, we want to make sure that we perpetuate a culture and that we measure the extent to which people's lived experience is consistent with the culture we espouse in our values in the 6 C's. So next, we'll talk about a couple of metrics that we track that help us to determine whether we're on track in achieving the 4 strategic goals of HR. The first is voluntary turnover. This is an interesting metric because it includes factors that are beyond our control. For instance, the softening labor market, which is helpful to us recently. We have seen a pretty significant increase in applicants for our positions, but I would say in some ways, I'm sorry to do this, but does anybody have a Kleenex? I'm experiencing some allergy issues here. Of course, right now. Okay. I promise you're not making me cry. Yeah. But yeah, so what I was saying about voluntary turnover is, in some ways it can be a blessing and a curse. Right now it feels a little bit like online dating, that we have like lots of applicants, but finding that right person can sometimes be a bit of a challenge. So oftentimes, we might find that we have, for some specialized jobs, like 50 applicants, and we have to post again because we just don't find that right person. So blessed in many ways in having that softening of the labor market. The next slide talks about some things having to do with voluntary turnover that are within our control. So this is a dashboard. It includes a lot of information, but it's information on our onboarding surveys. So since the latter part of 2019, we've been collecting onboarding data. And there are a few things that I wanted to highlight about this. So remember, one of our goals is to make sure that the culture that we espouse is similar to people's lived experience. We do have a read here. If you look at the little kind of circular, it has semicircular graph that says county values. I mean, our score is 3.52 on a 4-point scale in terms of people experiencing our values consistent with how we would want them to experience them. Also, high scores are found in the areas of helpfulness and welcoming. So people are generally feeling when they come here that their supervisor and their team is welcoming and helpful for them and helping them to establish themselves to get going with their job in a good direction. Another thing that I wanted to highlight is if you look at the upper right-hand corner, the onboarding average score, that score is improving over time. So I think that means that we're doing a better job making sure that we provide a positive experience for people who are new to the organization. So those are things that impact turnover that are, of course, within our control. Another thing that I wanted to highlight, which is really key information for us in HR, is on the bottom left-hand side of this screen. People are giving us their kind of self-professed reasons as to why they joined Kent County in the first place. And there are a couple of things that have nothing to do with pay or benefits that I think are really critically important to our ability to be successful. The first is what we do. It's really, very much a draw for people, and the top reason why people said they came to work here in the first place, that we can offer people an outlet for their passion to public service. They can make their community a better place and earn a paycheck at the same time. So that's an amazing differentiator for us. The second thing that is a differentiator, and you can't read the full the definition there, but it's Kent County's reputation as being a great place to work. And I believe that reputation has been hard-earned over decades. And it's one of the most important things to our ability to continue to recruit great people to provide good service for Kent County. Another thing that is worth mentioning is the pension program. Although we're on an island largely in offering it, it is still a contributing factor to people's decision to join Kent County. So this is wonderfully helpful information. Another thing that just, if you're wondering, like, what does this look like for 2024? We had about 80 or so people fill it out, and the data is largely the same. I mean, it's remarkably consistent over time. The reputation as being a good employer has flip-flopped with a passion for public service, so it's number one in people's self-professed reason why they came here. But otherwise, it's the data, of one data point relative to the others is pretty consistent. Okay. Next, I'd like to highlight a few accomplishments from 2024. So Stephanie Hernandez, who oversees our employment function, largely led an initiative in HR to hire and onboard over 70 people in partnership with the leadership of our Public Defender's Office. Michelle Belcom, who oversees our retirement service function, largely led an initiative to replace an outdated retiree health care option that was being offered to Medicare recipients, which was no longer an effective option. We basically were able to match the plan design, offer a nationwide network, and with very minimum disruption, replace that plan with a plan that's much more efficient and a better option for the employees, the retirees of Kent County, and also for Kent County as a partial funder of that plan. Third, we have a number of targeted offerings that largely have resulted from our analysis of our healthcare claims. So if we see a situation where we have, a good example is pregnancies. We have relatively good outcomes with our pregnancies, but we have a lot more pregnancies per capita than like the average population for whatever reason. That's just unique to our population. So we decided to offer a program called Maven. And Maven is like your one-stop shopping. It's a virtual app, and the service starts with as soon as you find out that you're pregnant, and it goes through the second year after birth. And it helps people who are new parents or are experiencing, different challenges with parenthood to have expert advice. So it includes medical advice available 24/7, resources for childcare, all kinds of things. So that's just one example of some of these, we call them point solutions, that we're applying based on our analysis of the data and where we need to implement kind of more help or assistance to improve those norms. Pet insurance is the exception to that. We don't have any data on people's pets' health, but it was something that anecdotally people had been asking for. So we did decide to offer that as a voluntary benefit as well, just this year. The next accomplishment that I wanted to highlight is our new LMS. It's called Meridian. We replaced our old LMS with this one in fall of 2024. It's less expensive, it's more user-friendly, and it offers better functionality. So it's a win-win-win, and we're excited to use that to improve our onboarding capabilities in the years to come. And then the last accomplishment that I wanted to highlight is efficiency improvements. I wanted to offer a huge shout out to the OnBase team and also to Matt, whose spouse is here today. And they have been incredible partners to us in helping us to find solutions to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of our processes. In 2024, those included enhancements to our open enrollment process, and in early 25, enhancements to the annual conflict of interest sign-off process. So look ahead, leadership development is on our radar. There are significant components of our leadership development programming that fell by the wayside with COVID, and we would love to resurrect those. So we are focusing on that for 25, 26 kind of time frame. Also onboarding, one thing that I didn't highlight on the onboarding dashboard is the lowest score that we've consistently had is like people's sense that they have good access to information like, how do I fill out a timesheet? How do I do a change of status? Where do I find, information about my benefits? Just basic kind of information and processes. So we can use that new LMS to make that a lot easier and functional for people who are new to the organization. So that's an initiative that's currently underway. Also next year, we have wage reopeners for the percentage of increase in the base wage for all 9 of our union contracts. So that's coming up in 2026. Succession planning, if you're wondering what keeps me up at night, that is the biggest thing. We have 4 managers in HR. 3 of them are currently eligible to retire, and the 4th one will be in 2 years. So we are currently, have been, and continue to work on knowledge transfer and succession planning within HR. We need to update our total rewards philosophy. So that's kind of the combination of pay, benefits, and flexibility and intangible things that would cause people to want to come work here. We have good data, and the world has changed so much over time with COVID and other kind of social changes. We'd like to get a cross-functional group of folks together and make sure that our total rewards philosophy is relevant and up to date. And then last, we're going to continue to partner with IT to further improve our efficiency going into the future. So we have a couple projects in the hopper for that. That is the end of my annual presentation. Thank you, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Amy, thank you so much. Commissioners. Commissioner Ponstein.
Thank you, Chair Burrow. Don't want you to leave without a question, so I'll have 2 of them. So quickly, back to the retention. It says we had 422 responses. These are people that are already employed for us, right?
Right.
Okay. I was worried that was when they applied that they were only planning to work for us for 2 years. So are you, I mean, is there a reason why more? Yeah, I'm just thinking, do the numbers add up?
Oh, are you wondering why the total number of responses for the 5-year question is lower than the total number of responses for the 2-year question?
Well, I'm assuming that the previous 2-year aren't included then in that.
Well,
If you're going to be gone in 2, you wouldn't answer Are you gonna be gone in 5?
Actually, we changed the platform. We started using Qualtrics in 2019 to collect this data, and then, 2023-ish timeframe, we stopped using Qualtrics and we started collecting data in a new system. And we didn't start asking the question about, do I plan to still be here in 5 years, until we started
Okay.
to do the survey in that new system.
Okay, then retiree health care. So that's OPEB?
Yes, so yeah, retiree healthcare is funded under the VEBA, so the VEBA does, yeah.
VEBA Trust, I'm sorry.
Yeah, yeah, they fund up to a certain amount, so retiree healthcare is kind of a complicated animal, but there are contractual equipments or commitments, just depending on when people retired, what contract they fell under, that dictate the amount that the county will fund for retiree healthcare. So it could be anywhere between 0 to, for people who are retiring now with 25 years of service, $450. And anything above and beyond that, the retiree pays out of their own pocket.
So we're eliminating it for new employees?
Okay, so in 2020, we were offering a plan that, it was technically 2 separate plan options that combined would offer healthcare, supplemental healthcare for Medicare eligible retirees, and also prescription drug coverage. So it was a Medicare supplement plan and a Part D plan is what they're called. And the plan was a very inefficient way to provide this benefit. And as a result, the federal government basically required us to grandfather people into it. So any new Medicare eligible retirees on or after 2020 went into a different plan, which is the plan that we ultimately, in this year, moved the grandfathered people into as well. So Michelle Balcom did a really good job making that transition relatively seamless. She aligned the plan designs of the inefficient plan that was grandfathered in the new plan. So basically people's out-of-pocket, what was covered, all of that was as close to identical as we could get it. We got the provider network as close to identical as we could get it. And we basically just eased that transition of those people out of that less efficient plan option into the more modern and efficient plan option.
And then, I guess the final follow-up then, so the liability for the VEBA plan,
Yeah.
where does that stand? I know that was an issue for the state for a while.
Jeff might have the answer to that. I know we've been aggressively funding that, but I don't know the current state.
Good morning, Commissioners. I don't have to get the exact answer. However, if I had to guess, I think we're almost 70% funded,
Okay.
somewhere in that range. But we're doing very well. We're not considered underfunded by the state's process, so via Public Act 202. So we're in really good standing with our VEBA.
Yeah, that is a big stride from when I first got
Yep.
on, so thank you.
All right, Commissioner Faber.
Thank you. I'll just ask 2 questions now and then maybe circle back with 2 more. But on the onboarding data, do we time when we ask that? So sometimes we would ask that maybe 6 months later after somebody's on the job. Did the whole onboarding process actually match what they're doing? When do we ask these questions?
We
about
actually, when we changed in, I want to say 2023, when we changed systems, the timing of when we asked changed as well. Initially, we waited until somebody was employed for at least 3 months. Now it's closer to 1 month. So we do ask sooner in the process with the new tool.
Great. And then just a question again on data. Do we align our employee surveys to things like Gallup or maybe some other national surveys that HR uses to understand sort of how employees feel about work, so we can benchmark ourselves a little bit or show how we're doing in comparison maybe to like county government or even the private sector?
We did take into account, Qualtrics actually helped us to design the surveys for onboarding and exit. So we did take into account their advice in terms of the questions, but we don't ask the same questions as Gallup. It does deviate. We also have an engagement survey, which county administration oversees, which has some alignment with some of the questions align with some of the kind of more well-known surveys, but they also have some unique questions as well.
Well, just an encouragement of maybe looking at that engagement or another survey. I think it would be really interesting. I think Kent
Yeah.
County would fare very well in
Yeah.
comparison to a lot of other employers. So maybe something to think about inserting some of those sort of nationally recognized questions in the
It's
future.
a good idea.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Commissioner Pacla.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Amy, thanks for being here today. In the spirit of comparative data, do we keep track the number of applicants per position at the county? And if
Yes.
so, do we see any trends in that in the last 1 to 3 years? I mean, I know
Yeah.
we're seeing a lot more situations in which we have fewer applicants for the positions, right? Is that something that's relatively consistent across county governments, to your knowledge, or is that unique to Kent County?
Well, I can't say how other local units of government are faring in terms of the average applicant count for each position posted, but we did see a significant increase in our average applicant count per position posted in 2024 versus 2023.
Great, thank you so much.
All right.
Yeah.
Commissioner Coleman.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Amy, for all your work and all the work of your team
Yeah.
to keep things humming around here. It's really important. A month or so ago, as we were kind of staring down the possibility of a federal government shutdown, I know there's some conversations around just like what positions, the complexities of, different funding streams, funding portions of different positions and all of that. So thank you for all the work to kind of understand and streamline that. I'm curious about, at the time, there was some conversation about like precedence rules for more senior members of under different union contracts. I'm just curious, that was the first I'd heard of that. Is that something that's common across all of the 9 contracts, that there is that seniority, somebody could bump somebody else out of a position kind of dynamic?
Generally, yes. That's like that value of seniority is very important to most unions. It applies uniquely based on the language in the contract, so the application of it is different, but the principle is pretty ubiquitous in all of our contracts. Yeah.
Any other commissioners? Commissioner Faber.
Thank you. 2 questions. One, on recruitment. I know when I worked for the county and would post positions, and like you said, it's speed dating. You get
Yeah.
150 applicants and half of them don't apply to the thing that what's the current thinking on recruitment? Are we looking at different opportunities or ways to reach out to really find those more highly qualified positions, especially around some of those positions that have stayed open and seem
Yeah.
like they never get filled?
Well, I think the areas where we've had the greatest level of success with some of those unique positions really kind of fall within leveraging our network of 2,000 people and their networks. So we've had a fair amount of success, for instance, with the bonus, the referral bonus that we offer. So if you, as an employee of Kent County, are eligible for the bonus, there are eligibility criteria, but if you refer somebody within your network and they're successful for at least 6 months, then you get a bonus of $750. So that has been incredibly helpful. And even outside of the bonus, I mean, networking tends to be usually the way we're most likely to be successful in getting the best people for those jobs. And that includes not only like networking at the time, but also like just people joining professional networks. Like for instance, I'm part of 3 or 4 different HR professional networks, and at least in part, it's because I know that I'm facing turnover in HR. So just being prepared and making sure you have a plan, I think, is also one of the best things. And we do all kinds of outreach, and we have expanded the scope of that. So we attend career fairs and job fairs and, partner with community organizations. But I think by far the networking initiatives and just developing those relationships has been, and tapping into them has been most successful for us.
Thank you. And then this is a question directed at admin, but with the Disney Way training, all employees going through that training, what is sort of next? What's the next thing that really brings our whole set of employees together? I thought that was really a valuable enterprise, and just wondered if there was current thinking on the next step. Thank you.
Yes, our next steps are to basically have an in-house customer service training that new employees will take. Oops, sorry. Thanks. Basically, with the employees that have gone through, obviously, we're looking at we have a great culture, but improving our culture continuously, because culture doesn't stand still. You have to tend it constantly. And so it'll be to develop that customer service training that all new employees will take. And as we look at other areas of the 4 Cs, like creativity, innovation, lean, that kind of thing, it'll be a similar pattern, where although we'll probably work department by department with some of those, but once we get things up to speed, initially we use consultants, but the idea is to build our organizational capacity to do those things on an ongoing basis.
All right, any other commissioners? All right, you might just have a couple. I liked your graph on the onboarding surveys. I see the training and job expectations, even though I think, you know, when you first look at that, you think, hey, that could be a touch low. But I look at my own businesses, training is very difficult, right?
Yeah.
Where to get that down, you have someone else typically training someone else. They have their job to do, so those
Yeah.
numbers would be, I think, very expected. And then the job expectations, I think that just goes, you know,
Yeah.
you kind of learn it as you go. I would assume that this is throughout the entire organization, including the sheriff's department,
Right.
correct? I'm assuming that when you look at the deputies that we hire, that some of those numbers would probably be higher than the
Yeah.
overall, than a
Yeah.
3.12. If you looked at that graph, is that probably safe to assume?
I would expect that to be the case, because they, you know, partner, you know, somebody with a more experienced person, and, you know, they have a lengthy onboarding program, so more so than any other place in the county.
But I thought all those other numbers looked great. Again,
Yeah.
having our employees enjoying what they do and
Yeah.
feeling like they're getting everything they need is important. A couple other things on, so all 9 negotiations, or wage
Yeah.
openers for this year or next year, you said? This
Next year,
Next
yeah.
year. I just see snow out of the corner of my eye or something, and I'm like,
Yeah,
why am
I
I
know
seeing
it.
that right now? So maybe that will knock our allergies down today. So when it comes to that, is that by design, or is that something that we, you know, you and your staff and the county needs to work at, that's not happening at one time? Or is
Yeah.
that just normal, it's chaotic and fun for you?
Yeah, normally, there are a few things that kind of happened as we progressed through the process, but normally it would be a 2-phase process where we'd have 4 contracts have reopeners in this first year, and the remaining 5 have reopeners in the following year. But some additional adjustments were made over the course of time that resulted in this. But it's atypical, and I would not wish that upon myself again.
All right, all right. So this probably would not, very unlikely happen
No.
again. All right. So again, we're a little worried about that, because again, I know how taxing that can be. And
Yeah.
and again, I think I made a comment a couple of years ago, the same thing. There were just a lot going on at one time for you and your staff, and
Yeah.
just spreading those out. But again, I'm glad that's atypical. Also, when it comes to our self-insuring and our benefits, I think Al told me ABG is our administrator for our program. I came from a previous employer that self-insured, and we had health safety screenings once a year. A nurse would come in, blood pressure, cholesterol check, those type of things.
Yeah.
And I know it helped them with their administrator to get our costs down with that administration part of it. Is that something we offer, we have, or?
We do. We try to promote having people have that conversation with their family doctor. So if you regardless, we have 3 different health plans, and regardless what health plan you're enrolled in, if you go once a year, get the screens for cholesterol, blood pressure, all of that, and have a conversation with your family doctor about how you're doing with your health, then you get an incentive. So we do incentivize people to do that. We do have a couple of extra steps for people in our high deductible health plan, and we offer an even bigger incentive in that plan. So it's structured a little bit differently, but it is a key cornerstone of our wellness initiative.
And I'm assuming this probably wouldn't be any HIPAA violation. So what is our participation in that? I mean, is that something you continually have to work on with our employees to be getting those health screenings? Is that
Yeah.
something of?
It is, and we just moved to a new structure for the incentive in 2024, so it was a change for people where they had like a hard deadline where they had to have it done. So we pulled out all the stops, and, if you were using the restroom, you would see it in there, and just any place we could think of to put it in front of people, we put it in front of people. But it does come with some challenges because it just there's a lot of lead time to get into the doctor when you go to make that appointment, and changing the protocol. We're still getting people used to the new behaviors.
All right, great. I just know that's important with being self-insured, just making sure folks are staying up to date, and if there's some things we can catch early. But again,
Yeah.
even when it comes to our planned administration, I know there can potentially be some discounts there that would be important for us to cash in on, so.
Absolutely.
All right, again, kind of a short meeting, then we do have another couple other things, so be willing to open this up if anybody has any other questions. All right, Commissioner Packwood.
I was just looking up the pet insurance
Yeah.
information and curious if you might talk a little bit about any participation in that exists. I know you
Yeah.
talked about it as a great benefit.
Sure.
Do we get a lot of employees that are taking advantage of that? And can the Board of Commissioners take advantage of that?
Yes, I don't see any reason why the Board of Commissioners could not. It's a new benefit, and it's been off to a slow start, to be honest. And all right, so I know time is short, but the origin of that actually came from a conversation I had with the director of the animal shelter, and she said, look, we have a social problem where people are surrendering their pets because they can't afford vet care, and if you could offer pet insurance, then that would provide 2,000 people with a more affordable option and maybe kind of better serve the animal shelter and the community and our employees. So that was the reason why we agreed to look at it in the first place, but I think we need to do more to promote it because the adoption rate has been pretty slow so far.
Yeah, well, I really appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. Seeing no other commissioners, Amy, thank you very much. Appreciate you and your staff. All right, next item on our agenda, there are some, trying to go back and forth with our new, will this go to just here, Al, or is this going to be is this an action request?
Yes, this is an action request, and then it also goes to the board from here.
All right, wonderful. So we have 3 items, A, B, and C, all fiscal services, capital improvement program policy, grants, contracts, and donations policy, and our annual budget. I would like to take all those 3 as one, and then I will have Al do a brief explanation that I think makes it very simple and wouldn't be a reason why we need to take one out. So do I have a motion and support? So moved. Motion by Coleman, supported by Womack. Al?
Sure. So I think the major theme of these 3 policy updates is marrying our policy to the 3 committees instead of 2 committees. You'll see most of the changes refer to that. There's also some clarifying language, but there's no shift in power between the administration and the board or anything like that. And one of the interesting ones is I'll take them one at a time. So we have basically we have the capital improvement program. So again, this is currently what we do, and we're just updating this policy for the new committee. And then when we look at the grants, contracts, and donations, we kind of put those together. The donations policy is interesting because what we had on the book was something I drafted a long, long time ago when we were doing Millennium Park. And it was George Sietsma, who was a resident out there, donated property in return for naming the lake on it after his wife Leota. So that's where Lake Leota came from. And that's where we had initially drafted this donations policy. So this basically just modernizes that a little bit, gets it caught up to date. And then contracts, Linda, did you have a comment on the contracts portion of this or no?
No, this this phase is just to get it up to date to the 3 committees, but the internal policy committee is working on a couple of these right now to truly do full-on updates, but that'll come back in some point in the future.
Okay, and then, of course, the last one is the budget policy. So again, nothing changed substantially of substance with the budget policy.
Great, Al, you mentioned to me this doesn't this isn't giving Al any.
There's no authority shift here. We'll point that out when there is one, and we have had some of those as time goes on, and we've adjusted certain policies that had dollar amounts that were set a long time ago for higher dollar amounts to lead for ease of administration and operation, but there's nothing like that in these 3, so.
All right, commissioners, comments, questions, or concerns? Commissioner Coleman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the more regular review of policies we've been having the last few years. It's just good to keep them fresh. And, the 3 committee structure, it's kind of given us another reason to make sure they're all fresh and up to date. As I was reading through these, one thing that just caught my eye with the CIP policy, it's really just a question about the dollar amount. So 25,000 or above is kind of the policy. I'm just curious if you feel like we should, at some point in the future, amend that threshold. If it was 25,000 in 1996 when it was first passed, 25,000 ain't what it used to be, right? So I don't know if at some point that dollar amount should go up so that it's just more consistent with what a dollar is worth in 2025.
Yes, and, right. I think the transfer amount you did approve increasing up to $100,000. But yeah, I think that's definitely something we should take a look at. That's a low threshold for 2025.
All right, any other commissioner? Commissioner Faber.
Commissioner Coleman and I had the same question, but I looked it up on the inflation calculator. It's $51,000 in 1996 dollars. So again, I don't know if we've changed it since then, but would recommend taking a look at it if it really creates a more efficient and easy way of doing things. Maybe the answer is right here. Thanks.
Good morning again. So we work in conjunction with our auditors on that as well, so it's kind of their threshold of what they want to look at as capitalized versus not, so we can talk to them about that again during next audit.
All right, great. Any other commissioners? All right, all those in favor, please say yes. Yes. All those opposed? That has been approved, and we'll move on to full board. All right, Commissioner Miscellaneous. Any Commissioner Miscellaneous? All right, seeing none, meeting is adjourned.